Hey guys, STLYoungblood back with you to talk Star Citizen, and specifically this time what we're going to be talking about is the Dogfight module. It basically just kind of a FAQ slash what do we actually know at this point, and it's kind of an ironic title considering some of this is pure speculation because we don't know a whole lot about the Dogfighting module. That being said, we're going to go ahead and run through some of these questions just to give you a better idea of expectations coming up. Before we do that, if you're very astute, you're probably wondering why you're sitting here watching a War Thunder video when I'm talking about Star Citizen. And the answer is kind of simple. I recently got my hands on a new HOTAS system, and if you don't know what HOTAS is, that's hands on throttle and stick, basically meaning I've got a throttle in my left hand and a joystick in my right hand. And I wanted to test it out, and War Thunder was a free game that I used to play, and I actually still had it installed, so it was a pretty easy transition. So if you're interested in seeing more War Thunder, I'm kind of getting back into it. I still suck, so don't expect anything great, but I sure could throw up some videos if you're interested in that. So that's why you're watching War Thunder in a Star Citizen video. So let's go ahead and break into this, and I think before we even get started, remember that most of this is speculation. Now, we have very little real data on the expectations, so keep that in mind as we kind of go through this. Now, what's the expected release date for the Dogfight module? Because it was originally back in December, but it's been updated to April of 2014. So basically next month. Now, PAX East is the show where they're actually going to be kind of demonstrating the Dogfighting module, and that's on April 10th. So my best guess to when this would actually be released would be a few days after that, because they're going to showcase the module at that point. I bet they're going to want to be back at their offices before they bring this thing onto full live. So probably, you know, the second week, third week, somewhere in that ballpark of April. We've waited this long. We're not too far away, which is great. Some other questions that we've got in here. Is the DFM a separate program or part of the Hangar module? Well, where it stands right now, the Hangar module is going to contain the Dogfighting module. Basically meaning that you're going to activate a simulated environment from within your hangar to get into the dogfighting arena. That being said, though, it's likely going to download as an update, so it's something new that you have to download, but it's probably going to do it automatically once you open up the launcher. Now, the Hangar module in general is going to be kind of your foundation for the DFM, as well as Alpha, Beta, and probably the whole release. It's probably the launcher that's going to be continuously updated throughout this lifespan of the game. Now, what happens if you crash your ship or it's destroyed in a fight in the Dogfighting module? Well, again, the Dogfighting module right now is planned to basically just be a simulation, so there shouldn't be any long-term consequences to losing your ship. Hopefully, since everybody's just trying to learn and get a feel for their ships, it's just going to be a situation where you crash or get destroyed and you can spawn another one almost immediately. Now, a lot of people are wondering what ships are going to be available in the DFM. Well, the Hornet's likely going to be the very first one that's available, and it may be the only one that's available when it's first released. Basically, the damage models are being worked on. We've seen the Hornet also being showcased in previous flight testing videos from CIG. So it makes a lot of sense that the Hornet will definitely be the first one in there. Now, things like the Aurora and its variants, the 300 series and its variants, the Avenger, they may be ready at the launch of the DFM. If not, probably closely following. We know they're very well developed. We can get into them and move around in them in the Hangar module where it stands right now. And my guess would be if they're not available right away, they would probably go in that order as far as their release. So Hornet, Aurora, 300 series, and Avenger. That's speculation, but a good guess. Now, when it comes to multi-person crewed ships, kind of like the Cutlass or the Constellation or the Freelancer, they're probably going to be following afterwards. I wouldn't expect them to be ready right away in the Dogfighting module. Now, I know a lot of people love the Constellation and they really want the Connie in the DFM right away, but especially since it's now getting its facelift and its models are reworking, I would venture a guess that it's probably not going to be ready right away. And then things like the Caterpillar, the Retaliator, the Idris, etc., all the other ships, they're probably going to be significantly later released. Now, things like racers, like the 350 or the M50, they're kind of unknown right now, just like a lot of this. But I would guess they probably make it in being single-seater ships before some of the really big multi-seater crafts. Now, what if my ship isn't ready at the launch of the Dogfighting module? Well, the good news is you're likely going to have a handful of stock ships that you can have the ability to fly. Again, I think everybody's going to have the ability to fly a Hornet, especially if your vehicle isn't ready right away. So let's say you've got the Retaliator, and that's your only ship. Well, and that's not going to be ready right away. So you're probably going to have a Hornet. You might even have an Aurora 300, maybe an Avenger to test with. I mean, hell, it might be like that for everyone. Nobody really knows, but my guess is you're going to have the ability to test other ships out. Now, there's been a lot of conflicting reports about that, but the general consensus is at some point during the lifespan of the dogfighting module, you're going to be able to test fly any of the ships that are available at that point. So if you only have an Aurora, you should be able to grab an Avenger and test it out and give it a spin. It makes sense from a business perspective too, because if you like the Aurora before the release comes, or I'm sorry, if you like the Avenger before the release comes out, maybe you're going to melt that Aurora and get yourself an Avenger. Who knows? But it makes sense to me. Now, will we actually be able to fight NPCs or AI in the DFM once it's released? Now, again, this is another category where there's been a lot of conflicting reports, and some of that comes from CIG themselves. But CIG stated that AI is really hard to program. So with the initial release of the DFM, we'll likely see PvP only first. Now, they've stated that they're going to add more to the module as it's ready. So what we see at first could be a very rough draft of the module. You know, from what I've kind of read and my own hunch, I would guess that what we're going to see is when it's first released that there's going to be no integration of AI or PvP. It's probably just going to be your ability to fly around your craft and kind of get familiar with it. After that, we might see the ability to fly with and against other players, which is hopefully easy to pair up with friends through some sort of matchmaking environment. And then finally, eventually, we'll see AI integrated. Now, those are, again, just purely my speculations, but they seem pretty logical based on the development cycle to date. Another question, will I be able to have NPC crew members available to man my turrets in a multi-seater craft? Simple answer is I'm not sure. Chances are we'll see NPC enemy targets for you to dogfight with before we see NPC friendly helpers, so somebody that can just jump on your turret and gun it for you. So my money's going to be on not right away, but we'll probably see that functionality added in at some point. Again, kind of like if we were to reword that question and say, can I have a friend gun the turret on my freelancer in the DFM? Probably not right away, maybe not even when multiplayer is released, but I would say once multiplayer against other PvP or against other players, we probably have a better chance of that being actually released. And then the last question that I've got labeled here, will there be a pilot proving ground or kind of a course set up to kind of prove your abilities as a pilot? Well, no official mention's been made regarding a maneuverability course or anything really like that. But my guess is, and you know, from some of the videos that we've seen posted up so far, we're probably going to see things like asteroids, maybe an asteroid belt, maybe some ship wreckage, you know, various things that are going to be out there to kind of test. So while there may not necessarily be a specific course set up for you to test your flight ability, there's probably going to be enough stuff out there where you can kind of turn it into one if you want to. So that's kind of it. I dug around to see how many questions I could find, but considering we're about 1 month away from probably the release of the DFM, I thought it was good to get some of these FAQs out there and try to get them answered. If you guys have other questions, please feel free to let me know in the comments, and I'll see if I can dig up some answers for everyone. But I don't know about you guys, but I'm excited. I'm looking forward to the game, and stay tuned for a whole lot more Star Citizen as we get closer. Subscribe for more content, and I will talk to you guys later. Take care.